Welcome back. So in this video, I'm going to try and crochet some scrunchies. I've never crocheted them before, and I'm also not going to follow a pattern, but if this video made it to the internet, that means that it went well. So I've got this small amount of like velvet feeling, it's unlabeled, so I don't know what it is, but it's velvet feeling yarn, and I have a small amount of it. I have a little bit more than this, but I only have a small amount of it, so I wasn't sure what to do with it, but I just really liked it. So I figured scrunchies would be a good way to go with it. Let me show you what supplies I'm going to start out with. I'm sitting outside because it's nice in the sun, so I've got a little mat here, but basically I'm going to work with a size J 10 6mm crochet needle. I've got my, oh my goodness, throwing everything around. I've got my yarn needle, a tape measure, and I've got my yarn. I'm going to put it in this little bowl because, like I said, if I'm working around, I don't want it rolling around on this dirty table. So it's going to stay neatly inside there. And because I'm making scrunchies, the foundation of the scrunchies will be these two hair ties. And I've got them in a, you know, a similar color, at least. Obviously, it's not matching perfectly, but either like black or some sort of color that, like, if you see it peeking through the little holes, it won't, like, look crazy or anything. First, I'm going to take this hair tie so I can like do some measuring, right? I want to see how far it stretches. So to 6 inches, it's fully stretched, which means in order to have this fully stretched and fully covered, I'm going to need 12 inches. So my original chain needs to be 12 inches long so that it, again, like I said, can fully stretch within the crochet. And also when it's like worn normally or like around the wrist, we'll get a cute little like bunching of the fabric type of effect. The way I have this in mind to do should be super easy, quick, and very beginner friendly. So for any kind of beginner friendly people who are trying to, like beginners who are trying to watch this, I'll break down the beginning. I'm not exactly a expert or professional crocheter or anything like that. I consider myself fairly beginner, or perhaps, no, I'd say pretty beginner. But let me just show you what I'm doing here. So to begin, I'm gonna make the slip knot by crossing that end over there, sticking my fingers through here, grabbing the end though, so that I don't pull it all the way through. I'm pulling it up, and I'm gonna stick my what am I doing? I'm gonna stick my hook on there. Now I'm going to just chain until I reach, what did I say, 12 inches. I don't know what this yarn is, but it's like a little bit harder to work with than like the standard cotton yarn that I've been working with. But it feels nice, and I think it'll make a cool looking scrunchie. I'm at about 12 inches here. Here's where I'm going to chain one. Basically just do one more single loop, right? The purpose for that is because this is the loop that's going to be in between your two rows. So if we've come this way, we need one space in between, and then we're going to go back in that direction. But there's like that little space in between that you don't want to lose your last stitch here. So we did one extra. Now I'm going to go back in the other direction, right? And I'm going to do, this is called the chain. This first little row, oh no, a train is coming. I'm going to try to explain this quickly before I lose my sound. So basically I'm going to do single stitches. I'm going to go right into that first stitch there, hook it, bring it through, hook it, bring it through both. Go into the next one. And I'm going to just continue this all the way across. I find that this first row is the hardest to do, and it like oftentimes doesn't really look like anything, or like it doesn't really look like it's doing things right, or it might be twisting or doing kind of weird things. It's kind of like The first row here, like I said, that's called the chain. And then when I'm doing the first row, this first row is kind of just like a trust the process kind of thing. You don't know how many times I've taken out the first row and then went back and did it, and it was like, it looked the exact same, and I don't know, I just didn't trust the process. Because I don't know, sometimes this part will start to look weird, or it'll look like, so I don't know. That's just my experience so far. Especially like if you're working with a thinner yarn. This thicker yarn is a little bit like it, you know, kind of keeps its shape. Like sometimes it'll look all twisted and crazy, and I'm just like, am I doing this right? But this one's holding a little bit like better shape. Pardon if this is not exactly the best video quality. I wasn't exactly intending to make this a video at first. I was just gonna come sit outside. It's kind of like been dark and gloomy and cold for SoCal anyways. I know, cold. But we're going into winter, so when today the sun came out and it was warm, I wanted to just take advantage of coming out in the sun. So I was just gonna sit out here and crochet, get some sun. But I figured, you know, while I was making these, I might as well show you guys what I'm making too. So it's not exactly the best quality, but since when is my channel the best quality? Obviously, we're not exactly high production around here. We're just hanging out, you know? I kind of miss those, like, little bit more old school vibes, and that I'm kind of trying to, like, bring it back. I know, I'm not, like, gonna bring it back, but other people are doing it. But I'm just saying, like, I want to kind of get back on. I want to contribute to that anyways. That's what I should say. I want to contribute to that whole vibe of just, like, getting a little bit more back to, like, old school YouTube. I don't know how to say it, where it was just like real people doing real things, hanging out. Like nowadays I feel like YouTube is so high production, and I just kind of like miss the old school, like Trisha Paytas in her bedroom, just you know what, I don't know, just making skit, doing weird shit, funny shit, just being her. I don't know, you know, I don't know if that was the best example, but I don't know, or like old, or like original, like Emma Chamberlain, right? When it was just like her in her bedroom hanging out, showing us like thrift hauls and doing stuff like that, right? It's like that's the kind of content that I like to watch. And so that's, I'm trying to figure out if this is the last stitch or like what's happening. I feel like this, yeah, I need to do one more stitch in this row. I'm gonna do one more stitch in this last row. And I'm not going to forget to do my chain stitch at the end of this row before I turn around and continue back in the other direction. Now I'm just doing single stitches here, which is probably the most basic stitch, the most beginner stitch that there could be. Even I myself, I've made a lot of different crochet things, I feel like, in a short amount of time. But I typically just, like, I learned a small skill, like a small section of this skill, and just stick with that, right? Like I only know a couple of different stitches, and all the things I've made are out of the few couple of stitches, you know what I mean? In fact, pretty much everything I've made has been done in either a double stitch or like an offset mesh. It's hard to film today. These dogs are losing their minds at everything. It's literally Christmas Eve right now, so I think there's just a lot of sounds. There's people coming and going, families gathering, and the dogs are just like, what the hell is going on? Okay, so I'm doing my second row right now. I think we're gonna need, just based on this, how thick this is so far, we're gonna need like 4 rows, 4 to 6 rows probably. I can show it up close too, in case you want to see what the end of the row looks like. So don't forget to do this last stitch in the row. It's like kind of sideways, so sometimes I feel like I'm gonna forget to do it. But you don't want to miss a stitch, because then you're going to start like decreasing on accident. So here we are, just did that last stitch. I'm just going to do one extra chain stitch turn my work over, and then just do single stitches back in the other direction, the same as I was doing before. Now we've got our chain, and then rows 1, 2, and the third row that I'll do right now. I'm at the end of my last row here. I did 5 rows total, the chain and 5 rows. I'm going to take this last stitch, just kind of pull this through that I've already cut, obviously. Pull that tight. I've left enough here that's about long enough to stitch along these 2 edges and some extra, probably a little too much extra, because next we're going to need to stitch this together. So I'm going to take my crochet here and I'm going to just fold it in this little zigzag pattern, just very roughly like that, just basically so that I can fit it inside of the hair tie. I'm going to start working on the side that has this little tail here. I'm going to, you can see the band in the middle, I'm going to fold the crochet over the band and use this piece here and a crochet needle as well. And I'm going to just start sewing through here. And then as we move along, we'll kind of like pull this out and do this one. And I'll just kind of keep working around. You can see the hair tie is just being like sandwiched in between the crochet that's being folded in half. I'm making sure to only go through the very top layer. I'm just gonna zigzag back and forth like so. Pull it tight, but not scrunched. I'm not gonna scrunch it up like this, you know what I mean? But I'm just gonna like make sure this is pulled tight while I'm holding on this end. And just, you know, kind of straighten it back out. And continue just zigzagging my way through these. Now that I have the outside edge done, I'm going to go in and just connect this little part. I'm going to stitch down and then I'll come back up so that I can tie it off with to this one. I've got both of those ends through my needle here, and I'm gonna go inside of here. I'm not gonna go through to this side. I'm gonna go inside and just work my way like quite a bit of the ways over here, and then come back out. You can see I didn't go on that side. Pull that all the way through. While I've got it like scrunched up and pulled, I'm gonna cut, discard. That way when I pull this back out, those 2 ends are stuck inside. And lastly, I'm basically just gonna turn this inside out and kind of press. So basically the seam that we sewed, I'm gonna try to press that flat as the bottom against the hair tie, right? So that inner seam is on the inside. And there you go. You have a crochet scrunchie. Thanks so much for joining me. If you like that video, don't forget to hit the little thumbs up down below. Subscribe while you're hanging out down there, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!